I knew I had to shut everything down and get out of the master control booth before someone came in and tried to stop me. If I moved quick enough, I could kill the live assist mode and flip the system back to full automation. The folks watching at home had already seen more than enough for one night. Once the station was running on its own again, I could finally step away and get myself the drink I had been needing all day. Believe me, I was desperate for it. Now, I was well aware there would be hell to pay. Laura would be waiting at home with her questions. The general manager would have a field day with me tomorrow, and I might even hear from the Federal Communications Commission. But honestly, at that point, I just did not care. I already felt like I was in a mess I could not crawl out of, and all I wanted was a cold beer in my hand. I made my way over to Frankie's on Roswell Road. It is the neighborhood's go-to sports bar, and order my first beer. I parked myself in a booth, nursed my drink, and watched the tail end of the Monday night football game. The longer I sat there, the more rounds I ordered. The place was packed, people chatting and buzzing with energy, and it did not take long to figure out what they were all whispering about. I caught bits and pieces, enough to know that my little move at the station had already become a topic of conversation. Thankfully, nobody recognized me or dragged me into it. I kept to myself, sitting in that booth with my drink, while the Saints absolutely steamrolled the Falcons. By the time the clock hit 10:30, I was good and numb. My team lost, 23-3. It was brutal. The Saints played like they had something to prove, probably because it was their first game back in their home stadium since the hurricane. They made the Falcons look like amateurs. Our station had aired the game alongside ESPN, since Atlanta was one of the teams. After it ended, I leaned over and asked the bartender if it was all right to leave my car in the lot overnight. He gave me the okay and said it was probably the smart move, given how I looked. He even called me a cab. I only lived a few minutes away in Sandy Springs, so it was a short ride. But that's where the night ended, not where the story begins. My name is Daniel Brooks, but everyone just calls me Dan. I'm a broadcast engineer for WBDK, a CBS affiliate out here in Atlanta. I have a master's in electrical engineering and computer science from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, along with a second degree in broadcast technologies. I do not mean to brag, but I'm damn good at what I do. Been in the television business for over 20 years, moving around the East Coast before settling in Georgia 5 years back. I am 46 years old. My dark hair started to go gray around the sides, but I let it be. I do touch up the mustache now, and then, mostly to keep it from aging me too much. I stand about 6 feet 3 inches and hover around 190 pounds, at least last I checked. Truth is, I have not touched a scale in ages. I would not call myself handsome, but I hold up okay. I am no Hollywood actor, that is for sure, but I don't scare people off either. Now about my wife, Laura. We have been married 22 years. Together, we have raised 2 amazing daughters, Jessica and Rachel. Jessica is married now, and Rachel is in college, finishing up her degree. Laura stands about 5'5" and weighs maybe 135 pounds. Long blonde hair down her shoulders, and even after all these years, she turns heads when we go out. She is the kind of woman people instantly like. At least, that is what I used to think. For the past year and a half, Laura has worked as a secretary over at our church. Her boss is Reverend Jim Pfizer. And that brings me to the real start of this whole damn mess. Last Friday, I had some free time during my lunch break and figured I would surprise Laura and take her out to eat. It was raining, so I parked near the side entrance of the church office and walked in. Her desk was empty, but I kept going anyway. That is when I heard her voice coming from Pastor Jim's office. She was telling him how excited she was for Monday night, saying she could not wait to spend some time alone with him while I was tied up with the football game. My whole body locked up. Their conversation turned intimate real fast. I heard them laughing about booking a room at the Lane Inn and how they could not wait to be together again. My stomach churned. I felt like I had just been punched in the gut. A part of me wanted to burst into that office and demand answers, but something stopped me. I knew myself well enough to know I might lose control, and the last thing I needed was to end up in handcuffs. So, I backed out the way I came, hoping they had not seen or heard me. There were cameras around, but that side door probably was not covered. I got in my car and drove off completely numb. It was one of the hardest things I have ever done. I called into the station and told them I was not feeling well and needed to head home for the day. I figured I would try to pull myself together before Laura got home around 4 o'clock. At that point, there was no doubt in my mind. Laura was cheating on me with Pastor Jim. Actually, I stopped calling him that. From that moment on, I called him Bastard Jim. It suited him better. My head was spinning with questions. How long had it been going on? Why did it start? What had I done wrong? I know some folks prefer not to know the details, but not me. I needed the whole damn truth. When it started, how often, where it happened, and if anyone else knew. I made up my mind. I was going to find out everything. I was not going to sit back and play the clueless husband. I had to deal with them both. Head on. When I got home, I made a pot of coffee and went out to the back patio. The air was cool, and the breeze helped calm me down. I will be honest with you, I cried. Not a sobbing breakdown, but quiet, steady tears. I did not cry because I felt like I owned Laura or because she was mine. I cried because we made vows. I took those vows seriously. I thought she did too. Turns out I was wrong. The pain of being cheated on is not just about the act itself. It is about having everything you believed in ripped out from under you. Suddenly, you do not know what to believe. Everything she ever said or did comes into question. You feel like a fool, like you have been living in someone else's story. And let me tell you, no matter how big you are, how strong or put together, you feel small when it happens. You feel powerless and scared. That is what infidelity does. It cuts you down to your bones. Sitting there on that patio, every little moment I had brushed off over the past year came rushing back. Things that seemed innocent before suddenly felt like clues, like warnings I had ignored. Why? Because I trusted her, fully and completely. And now, that trust was in pieces. I wanted to know everything. I needed answers before I could look her in the eye and confront her. By 3 o'clock, I could not take sitting around the house any longer. I grabbed my keys and left. I drove to the station to pick up a few things and told my boss I needed a few personal days. He was understanding, thankfully. Then I went back to Frankie's to kill some time. At around 5, I called Laura and told her I would not be home for dinner. She was irritated, as usual, and said she had plans that night. She hinted she was in the mood for something physical and said if I did not show, those plans would get canceled. Right. Like I was in any mood for her after what I had heard. Let Bastard Jim be the one to wear her out tonight. Still, I played along. Stay in the mood for me, sweetheart. I'll take care of you when I get back. She bit back, sharp and cold. Don't count on it. You treat me like this, and you will be going without. That was just fine with me. That was exactly what I needed. No chance in hell I was going to touch her, at least not until I got the full truth. And honestly, maybe not ever again. When I got home that night around 10:30, I was drunk enough to stumble a bit, but still clear-headed enough to notice something strange. The bedroom door was locked. I stood there for a moment, smirking like a man who just saw the writing on the wall. I knocked, loud enough for her to hear me. Fine, I called out, loud enough to carry through the door. If that's how it's going to be, don't come crying to me when you need something. Just suffer through it. Then I headed down the hallway to the guest room. It bought me time, which is all I really wanted. I didn't have to pretend like I wanted to hold her that night or explain why I didn't. The next morning, I came into the kitchen, and she was already sitting there with a cup of coffee. The tension was so thick it could have knocked you over. She just sat there, cold and staring, like I was the one who betrayed her. If I had not known about the affair, that look might have rattled me. But now, I just gave her a half smile and said, "Don't worry about breakfast, sweetheart. I'll grab something on the way to the golf course." I did not wait for a reply. I slung my clubs over my shoulder, walked out the kitchen door, and pulled away. About 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen and saw her name, but I let it roll to voicemail. I waited a few minutes, then played the message. "You jerk," she barked. "How could you do this to me? Get back here right now." Bastard. No, Laura. That name belongs to someone else. Pastor Jim. You know, the man you've been sneaking off to hotels with? I'm not the one cheating behind my spouse's back. Of course, I had no intention of going golfing. That was just a smokescreen. Instead, I drove straight to the church. My old church, I should say. There was no way I was ever going to sit through another sermon from that lying coward. It was early. The parking lot was empty, just like I hoped. Since Laura worked there, we had a key. I let myself in and made my way toward the offices. I had one thing on my mind: set up some surveillance. I had brought small micro cameras and miniature microphones with me. I planted one in Laura's office, tucked behind a stack of unused hymnals across the hall. Then I placed another in Bastard Jim's office. I wired both signals back to my car, where I could monitor them through a receiver I rigged into the dashboard. I figured it might take a few days to catch something useful, but I was willing to wait. Before I left, I searched through Laura's desk. Nothing suspicious at first, just regular paperwork. But then I noticed a bright red asterisk on her calendar. It was for Monday. It matched up with the conversation I'd overheard the previous Friday. That was all I needed to see. Then I checked out Jim's office. Didn't find anything right away. But just as I was about to leave, a thought hit me. I opened one of the filing cabinets and started flipping through receipts. Sure enough, there they were, printed invoices from the Lane Inn in Roswell. Some were from late 2005. Others were dated spring of 2006. My blood boiled as I scanned the documents. The earlier dates lined up perfectly with the times I'd been away at CBS headquarters up in New York. Even worse, the receipts weren't just from overnight stays. Jim had labeled them as conference room rentals for church meetings. That was the last straw. This guy wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was billing the church for the motel rooms. And I, like a fool, had helped fund their little love nest with my own donations. No more. They were never getting another dime from me. I made copies of the receipts and tucked them into my briefcase. Then I packed up and left, heading to the golf course just to keep up appearances. I walked into the clubhouse, sat down, and ordered a soda. I didn't want anyone to question me if they asked later. I spent the next hour sorting through the documents, lining up the dates, building a timeline. After that, I sat in my car and connected to the audio feed from the hidden mics. I tuned in just in time to hear Jim walk into his office. I listened as he made a call. "Hey, Laura, I'm at the church now. You called. What's got you so worked up?" There was a pause. Her voice must have been coming through on his end. "Oh, really? Has he done that before?" he asked. Another pause. "What do you think set him off this time?" Then, in a lower tone, "You don't think he suspects us, do you?" The silence afterwards said everything. Then Jim gave a short chuckle. "Well, you can make it up to him, or get back at him, Monday night." He hung up. Before I cut the feed, I heard him mutter something under his breath. I hit record, just in case it turned out to be useful later. When I got home, I went straight into chores. Anything to keep my hands busy and my mind from falling apart. I mowed the lawn, cleaned the basement, even organized my toolbox. Laura barely spoke a word, but the air between us could have frozen over. At dinner, she finally lost her patience. "Dan, what's going on with you? Why are you acting like this?" I didn't flinch. "Laura, you locked me out of our bedroom last night. Maybe ask yourself what's going on with you." My voice stayed calm, but every word had weight. "I step out one evening with the guys, and you lose it? If anyone's out of line here, it sure isn't me." She slammed her fork down. "Damn you." I look her right in the eye. "That what a good church secretary says these days. You sure you're not mixing up your scriptures?" Her face said it all. Guilt, plain as day. She recovered fast, excused herself, and vanished from the room. But I knew she was shaken. Later that night, she came into the family room where I was flipping through channels, trying to find anything other than the usual noise. Her eyes were red. She had been crying. Neither of us said much. I stayed quiet, and when I was ready, I walked to the guest room and shut the door behind me. A few minutes later, she showed up at the doorway. "Aren't you coming to bed?" she asked softly. "Nope," I said without turning around. "You made it pretty clear where I stand. I'd rather sleep alone and wake up rested." She left without a word. I could hear her sobbing down the hallway. I didn't feel bad. The next morning, she woke me up around 8, already dressed for church. "You coming with me?" she asked, trying to sound casual. I shook my head. "Nope. You go ahead and play your part. I've got better ways to spend a Sunday." She stood there a moment, face tight with emotion, then walked out the door. Later, she tried to talk to me again, but I shut her down. I told her I wanted to be left alone. And that was how Sunday passed. Two people in one house, living separate lives. When Monday rolled around, I was gone before she even got out of bed. As I pulled out of the driveway, my phone rang. It was her. She was crying, telling me she missed me, that she loved me, begging to work things out. I kept it cool. "We'll talk when I get back tonight," I said. Then I hung up. After that, I called my boss and told him I was good to handle the Monday Night Football broadcast after all. He was relieved. Then I made my way to the Lane Inn in Roswell. At the front desk was a young man named Ryan. I walked right up and told him the truth. I suspected my wife was cheating. There was a chance she and her friend would be renting a room there that night. He looked hesitant. I told him if he let me plant a recording device in one of the rooms, I'd give him 2 tickets to the next Falcons game. He thought it over, then said, "Make it 4. Done." He handed me a key to the only available Whirlpool suite. What Ryan did not know was I had more than just a microphone with me. I was planning on capturing everything. I had everything prepped at the motel room, right down to the last detail. In addition to the cameras and mics I'd already hidden in the church offices, I had even tapped the phone line in this room to record both sides of any conversations. Once I had everything positioned, I ran a quick test. Audio came through crystal clear, and the camera angles gave a good shot of the bed and the Whirlpool. It was perfect. I tucked the equipment away, made sure it was all invisible to the casual eye, locked the door behind me, and dropped the room key back off with Ryan. I handed him the envelope with the Falcons tickets and nodded. "Thanks, Ryan. Hope you enjoy the game. And here's hoping tonight goes just the way it needs to." Still had a few things I needed to handle before the night was through. First stop, the bank. I pulled half the money from both our checking and savings accounts, turned it into cashier's checks, and walked out without looking back. From there, I called our credit card company and canceled every joint card we had. I was not about to let Laura go on some emotional spending spree on my dime. Next up was my broker. I had a quick meeting scheduled to go over how to divide our investments without getting hit too hard on taxes. He was ready, just like he said he would be. We went over everything line by line, and all we needed now were the signatures. Then I placed a call to my lawyer. We had a sit-down scheduled that afternoon. I told him I wanted a no-fault divorce, an equal split, clean and simple. But I also said if Laura tried to drag things out, I was ready to switch to filing under adultery. That got his attention. After that, I went over to Planner National Bank in Marietta and opened brand new accounts under my name only. I deposited the cashier's checks and left with a new sense of control over my future. I may not have known exactly how this was going to end, but I sure as hell knew I wouldn't be caught off guard. It was lunchtime, but I wasn't hungry. Still, I stopped for a sandwich, forced it down, then made my way to my lawyer's office. We reviewed the draft papers and finalized a plan. It was all falling into place. By the time I walked out of there, I had done everything I could to protect myself legally and financially. I turned my phone back on and saw a couple of missed calls and messages from Laura. She sounded worried, said she missed me, wanted to talk before the football game. It was laughable, really, knowing exactly what she had planned for the night, and here she was still trying to play the sweet, concerned wife. It turned my stomach, but I made a deal with myself. If she didn't show up at that motel tonight, if she backed out, maybe, just maybe, there would be a chance to fix what was broken. But if she went through with it, then whatever came next, she would have earned every bit of it. By 8 o'clock, I had the Monday Night Football broadcast rolling on full automation. I could control the feed and monitor everything remotely. The show would go on. Meanwhile, I turned my full attention to the motel's hidden surveillance feed. At exactly 8:15, Jim showed up. I watched him enter the room and place a call. "Hey, I'm here. Can you come over soon?" he said into the phone. A woman's voice answered back. "I'll be there shortly." He hung up and paced around the room. Then, under his breath, he muttered something. I made a mental note to replay that part later. As I sat there watching him, pacing like a lovesick teenager, I felt my gut twist. This wasn't some casual hookup. No, this was something deeper, more intimate, more damaging. The thought alone made my chest tighten. A little while later, Laura showed up. I took a deep breath, watching her step into the room like she owned it. The way they talked, the words they used, the way they looked at each other. It was clear this was not new. They had a history. This had been going on far longer than I'd imagined. They were acting like two people in love, not like a pastor and his secretary. The flirtation, the inside jokes, the way their voices softened around each other. It all told the story loud and clear. Then they moved to the bed, and everything went from bad to worse. I sat there listening, watching, unable to turn away but wishing I could. She was into it, completely into it. Her face, her voice, everything about her showed she was there because she wanted to be. There was no guilt, no hesitation. She was hungry for it. "This is what I needed," she whispered, breathless. "You're going to remember this night forever," Jim said with a smug grin. "Keep going," she moaned. "Don't stop. This is what I want." I could barely take it. Hearing her talk like that, seeing her respond to him in ways I had not seen in years, it was more than just painful. It was humiliating. And just when I thought it was over, they went again. Louder this time. More intense. Her voice echoing through the speakers like a hammer to my chest. I could not believe what I was hearing. My wife, my Laura, giving herself over like that. Finally, they paused. Maybe they were taking a break. Maybe they were done. I didn't know. But I knew what I needed to do. I switched the station's feed. Quietly, without warning, I inserted a segment that displayed footage from the motel room. It was subtle at first, just enough for someone watching closely to recognize the setting. I knew it would not take long. The phones at the station lit up almost instantly. I braced myself. Then I called Laura. My heart was racing as I heard the ringing. I imagined her checking her screen, recognizing my number, and smiling to herself like she had won some little game. "It's Dan," she whispered. I could hear her voice, soft and low, probably meant for Jim's ears. "I'm not answering this time. Let him stew. Keep going, baby." I gritted my teeth and ended the call. But I was not done. I called again. This time, I wasn't going to let her off that easy. "Hello, Dan," she answered, her voice cold and flat, like she was already bracing for a fight. "Where are you right now, Laura?" I asked, keeping my voice even though every nerve in my body was screaming. She did not hesitate. "I went out shopping, since you didn't bother to check in earlier. Grabbing something to eat before heading home." Just like that. Calm. Collected. Like she had done this 100 times before. "Shopping? At this hour?" I pressed. "Yeah, and I'm treating myself tonight," she snapped, her tone suddenly defensive. "Going to splurge a little." "That's great, Laura. You've been such a model wife lately," I replied, letting the sarcasm roll off my tongue. It was all I had left holding back the anger. "Don't talk to me like that, you jerk," she snapped. "I don't know what your problem is lately," she said, then hung up before I could respond. I stared at the phone for a second. Then I smiled. I was not about to call her back, not directly. I had a better idea. I called the motel. Ryan answered after a few rings. "Front desk." "Hey, Ryan. It's Dan. You watching Monday Night Football?" I asked, keeping things casual. "No, not yet." "Why?" he replied, sounding puzzled. "Well, you might want to tune in. And do me a favor, give the Whirlpool suite a ring." There was a pause. Then I heard Jim's voice come through, irritated. "What do you want, Dan?" "Let me talk to Laura," I said calmly, holding back every emotion behind gritted teeth. After a second, she got on the line. "Dan, why are you calling here?" she asked. "I know, Laura. I know everything," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "The lies, the cheating. I am filing for divorce. You are out." "What are you talking about? What is wrong with you lately?" she fired back, sounding genuinely confused. "It's over, Laura. Turn on the football game for once," I said. "Enjoy the second half." I hung up. I watched the feed on my monitor. I saw her reach for the remote, flip on the television, and then freeze. Her face went white as the reality of what was being broadcast hit her. "Oh no. Oh no. Oh no," she kept repeating, scrambling to pull her clothes back on. Jim cursed loudly, realizing the situation had just gone nuclear. "I'm going to destroy that son of a..." "Careful what you mutter, Jim," I thought. That kind of thing has a way of sticking with a man. They bolted. I'll let the feed run a little longer, then shut it down. I turned off the live assist mode and restored the station's system back to full automation. Then I took the video and a few personal things from my desk and walked out. That was probably the last time I would ever step foot in that control room. Now you're all caught up. I spent the rest of the night at Frankie's. As expected, the halftime broadcast was all anyone could talk about. Nobody knew who had aired it, but plenty of folks had theories. I sat there nursing a beer, not saying a word. After the game, I grabbed a cab and went home. She was there when I walked in, sitting on the couch in the dark. The phone was off the hook. Her eyes were red, and she was crying. Hard. How could you do this to me, Dan? She sobbed. After everything we've been through? I looked at her. Cold. Detached. No, Laura, I said flatly. The question is, how could you do this to me? I took off my coat and headed for the spare bedroom. I'm drunk. We will talk in the morning, I said as I left her behind, still sobbing into her hands. The next morning, she had not moved from the couch. She looked like she had not slept at all. Her eyes were swollen, and she looked empty. But I felt nothing. I picked up the phone and placed it back on the receiver. It started ringing almost immediately. Over the next hour, I took call after call. Friends, family, people from a church, my old boss, even both of her daughters. They were confused, upset. Some were angry. Others just wanted to know what had really happened. I did not go into details with most of them. I just told them the marriage was over and left it at that. Then I got a call I did not expect, Jim's wife. She asked if I had a copy of the video. I told her I had it stored safely and would provide it if she needed it. It was obvious she had no idea what her husband had been up to. Some people were furious that I had aired it publicly. Laura's parents, especially, were beside themselves with embarrassment. But most folks expressed sympathy. They understood why I did it, why I needed people to know. Laura sat there while I answered every call. Quiet, tears rolling down her face. But I had no pity left for her. Eventually, I had enough. I unplugged the phone, poured myself a cup of coffee, and poured another one for her. I placed it on the table in front of her without a word. Then I slid the divorce papers and a folder of financial documents across the table. I'm filing for divorce, I said calmly. What I saw last night confirmed what I already knew. This marriage is done. She stared at the papers, then looked up at me, her eyes full of disbelief. This is a no-fault divorce. I am offering a 50-50 split. It is fair, I continued. If you want to speak to a lawyer, you have until 5 o'clock today. But if you do not sign by then, I will file under adultery, and we will go to court. And if that happens, I will push for division based on individual contribution. I have already done the research. That route benefits me by a lot. She opened her mouth to respond, but I kept going. And if you try to fight this and drag it out, everything goes public. The full story. Every detail. Every clip. Think hard, Laura. This is your best chance at a clean exit. Her lips trembled. Her voice was barely a whisper. I still love you, Dan. I know I screwed up. Can we just try to fix it? I stared at her. This is not about love anymore, I said. It is about respect. And you threw that out the window the moment you chose him. She was silent. After a while, she disappeared into the bedroom. When she came back, she had the signed papers in hand. Her expression was one of quiet defeat. My lawyer looked it over. Said your offer is fair, she murmured. Can we at least talk? She asked. So I can explain? I need you to know the truth. Part of me wanted to shut her down, but another part, maybe the one that still felt wounded, wanted closure. So I nodded. She sat down and began. There was no one else. Just Jim, she said. It started before I ever took the job at the church. I did not plan for it, but I do not know. There was something about him. Maybe it was the attention. Maybe I thought he cared. I really thought he loved me. I stayed quiet and let her finish. When she finally looked up, searching my face for any sign of understanding, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I played her the first recording. That idiot woman better keep her mouth shut. She was easy enough, but she is not built for the long run. Her face turned pale. Then I played the second one. I will use her tonight and get rid of her tomorrow if she becomes a problem. That was all it took. Her world fell apart right in front of me. I'll threaten to tell Dan everything if she tries to end it. That was the last line on the audio clip I played. After that, the room went dead quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Laura sat there at the table, eyes wide, face pale, tears dripping off her chin. She stared down like she had nothing left to say. And maybe she didn't. So not only did you tear our marriage apart, I said calmly, but you completely misunderstood the man you threw it away for. She opened her mouth slightly, but no words came out. He didn't care about you, I continued. He used you. And what hurts most is how much you let him. How much you like being treated like that. I could never treat you the way he did. Not because I couldn't, but because I respected you. I loved you. But that respect, it's gone. She broke down again. This time, quieter. No fighting. Just raw, quiet sobs, like she knew it was over. After a long stretch of silence, she picked up the pen, signed both sets of divorce papers, and pushed them back across the table. No more arguing. No more pleading. Just done. I told her I'd be moving out soon and that she had time to find a new place. I did not want to stay in that house any longer than necessary. Too many memories. Too much pain in the walls. Truth was, I doubted she could afford the place on her own, and I had no interest in keeping it. We agreed to sell the house and split the proceeds. Same with the rest of our assets. I packed a few bags, gathered the necessary documents, and left. First stop was my broker's office to drop off the financial paperwork. After that, I checked into a hotel for the night. The next day, I met with my attorney. We filed everything with the Superior Court. From that moment forward, it was official. We also discussed the possible blowback for my little halftime stunt. He was honest. Fines, public backlash, possible legal action from the station or the FCC. Jail time? Not likely, but losing my broadcasting license? That was almost guaranteed. And he was right. Within days, the Federal Communications Commission served me. The legal battle drained nearly a year's worth of savings, and my license was officially revoked for 2 full years. I was out of the industry, just like that. It felt like the end of everything I had built my career around. But then, unexpectedly, a lifeline came through. A senior executive who knew about my situation offered me a position, something that worked around FCC limitations. Was a risky move on his part? Probably. But he had been through his own nasty divorce and said he understood. I took the job. It wasn't my dream gig, but it was enough to keep me moving forward, and for that I was thankful. As for Jim, well, he had the nerve to confront me one night at Frankie's. Showed up trying to look tough, trying to act like the victim. He wanted to fight, but it didn't go his way. I pinned him to the bar with one hand and told him point blank, "You ever speak to me again, I'll make sure you regret it." He tried to bluff, but I leaned in real close and said, "I got you on tape, Jim. I could press charges. I could ruin what little you've got left. You want to play that game?" He backed down. Fast. Gave him a little tap to the ribs on the way out, just to make a point. That was the last time I saw him. He's not a pastor anymore. The church kicked him out and stripped his ordination. Last I heard, he was working at a travel agency. His wife hit him with divorce papers and cleaned him out. I'm guessing that same audio recording helped seal her case too. He deserves every bit of it. As for me, well, I'm still picking up the pieces, but I'm doing okay. I've been on a few dates here and there. Nothing serious. Nothing physical either. I still believe intimacy should be reserved for marriage. That value might seem old-fashioned nowadays, but it is something I still hold close. When the right woman comes along, I'll know. Until then, I'm just living my life. Healing. I still see Laura every now and then, at family events mostly. Rachel's graduation. Jessica's baby's baptism. We stay polite, but I keep my distance. I made it clear. I'm there for our daughters, not her. She looks different now. Not physically, though she seems older, more worn, but emotionally, like a shadow of the woman I married. I think she regrets what she did. Maybe not just the affair, but the life she threw away for it. You can tell she's carrying that weight, even if she tries to hide it. Her reputation still hasn't recovered. People remember what they saw during that halftime broadcast. Her name gets brought up in whispers, not out of admiration, but pity, or worse, ridicule. From what I've heard, she turns down every date she's offered. And believe me, there have been plenty. But most of those men aren't looking for love. They just see her as an easy target. That's the life she's left with now. Not respect, not dignity, just whispers and shame. And I cannot feel sorry for her. She had love, trust, a home, a family. She had it all, and she threw it away for a man who never even cared about her. Now she has nothing but regret. And me? I have peace.